Welcome everyone to a very special episode of Red Carpet Living with Jen, where I get to ask a question that's been burning on my mind, and I know on Diana's mind as well. With the mortgage rates and interest rates going up and the Fed consistently rising and home affordability not going down, all of us are asking to our buyers,
How do I get you
alone? Oh, I'm so excited. I finally get to use that pun. Thank you, Diana, for joining me and for just dealing with my antics. The behind the scenes for this episode, I'm not even going to kid you, are hilarious. And we probably should have just been recording this whole time.
It's better that way. I have been waiting to use that title because that song gets me every time. And I always think about it. Well, how can we get you some financing?
Well, and now you can officially say, how can I get you a loan? It's a burning question, I think, for many people. So I've just set the theme for what you are in for. Everybody buckle up and brace yourselves because this is not going to be an easy ride. I apologize, but we'll keep it light and we will figure out how can we get you guys a loan. So before I go any further, I have an amazing guest here today, Diana Greshtchuk. She is a personal friend of mine, but also a financial literacy coach. She's got a business where she provides online mentoring and financial, just all overall money mindset. And I'm butchering her introduction because I know she does a lot more than that. So I will let her take it away.
No, you got most of it. It's cool. And you said my last name right. So bonus points.
Oh, I was
So
very good. Happy I did.
I'm happy to be here. I'm Diana Greshtchuk. I'm a CPA in the state of California. I also hold a certification in mindset work as well as in emotional tech intelligence practitionership. So I look at both a practical business acumen as well as finance and accounting fundamentals and blend that with a money mindset, a relationship with money, and how to manage and self-regulate your emotions when it comes to dealing with money. And I call it a trauma-informed financial literacy coach because we're trying to create safe spaces to talk about money. So in my day job, I work at a private equity firm in Los Angeles, but Fan Your Flame is a company I founded in the vortex week between Christmas and New Year's of 2021, because who knows what we're doing those days.
Right. They're like these weird in-between days. The calendar kind of registers them, but not really.
I call those liminal spaces. You're just not meant to be there very long.
But you created an entire, and the timeliness too of when you created it, because I think right now people are having PTSD with their money, right? We went from like an okay economy to a pandemic to inflation, recession, like there's so much going on. How can we regulate our nervous systems? And especially me being in real estate, what can I tell my buyers to do and to brace themselves for what this market is preparing them for?
Gird your loins. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, what we're seeing in the market is unprecedented. We went from 2008, the global financial crisis and the collapse of some financial markets and certain securities causing widespread financial trauma. And just recently, we're still in an inflationary period. Inflation the last couple of years. We were forced into a mini recession before that because of COVID. And so we're just getting whiplash from the back and forth because now we're hearing in the news, oh, the pending recession. What does that mean? Got a plan for it. Right. And yet today, on the day of recording this, the Fed is still increasing the federal funds rate. Yeah, it's unprecedented, right? For sure.
We're not
so
able
just knowing what to do.
Right. Not knowing what to do, having that space and the time to catch your breath and to really assess where you are as an individual with your finances and then kind of transpose that into the greater environment of what it is that we're doing. So with that in mind, I know that that's something that is your specialty. What do you do when you're walking people through unpacking their trauma, capturing their financial snapshot, and really just assessing themselves in terms of their finances, so they're not freaking out and then, having all the whiplash for all the things that are going on and not taking it all in at the same time. That's what she said, sorry. But it's that's kind of what I feel, right? We have all this information that's bombarding us. How do you bring people back to center in your courses and in your teaching so that they can get comfortable with talking about money?
Great question. So when folks start working with me, what I like to do is they fill out an intake form, number one, that asks all sort of qualitative questions, short-term goals, long-term goals, and really, any money stories that they currently have, any disempowering beliefs about money they have. Um, and I also have them fill out a template of a financial snapshot. So what am I trying to capture with that? And you said it, it's knowing exactly the state of the union, the state of affairs, where you are right now. It's sort of like when you go to the doctor when you're healthy, you get a baseline to measure against. But you don't even know if you're healthy if you haven't looked at all your finances and gotten them in one place yet. So what I do is I have my clients fill out a template that is basically a balance sheet that has your assets and liabilities and an income statement which has your sources of income, revenues, as well as your expenses. And from there, what I can do as a CPA is I can see relationships in what's happening, where you're trending. I can look at key ratios, your cash burn rate, what you're really spending can even create an amount of awareness. Like I said, you think you might be healthy, but maybe when you do your financial snapshot, if you're trying to buy a home, for example, and that's your short-term goal, ooh, yeah, no, you're not in any place to be thinking about buying a home right now. You got to clean up your financial house before you can do that. And I know that's something you care a lot about with your clients because their financial house needs to be clean by the time you're going and showing.
Absolutely. And I think that's like the first thing that I tell buyers as well. Everyone's like, well, what house can I afford? Like, how's the market? And I'm like, well, before you look at that, where are you? What is going to be something that's comfortable for you for your monthly payments? What are some of the priorities that you want when you go into buying that home? But I think like before they have the conversation with me, being able to have it with you who not only can unpack trauma in a very unique way, with the coaching and the certification that you have, but also the financial prowess that you can say, hey, look, you really want to clean up your finances? Like, here's the financial advice I can give you. And here's the mindset framework that you need so that that work doesn't feel as impossible, overwhelming, or defeated. And that's sometimes kind of what I end up doing with my buyers as well is that mindset prep. Like, hey, you're just finding out where you are. Let's see where you can stand and don't get overwhelmed by it, right? Maybe your short-term goal might become a little bit of a longer-term goal, depending on where your credit score is and your assets and your liabilities. But it's really talking people down of that urgency of having to have everything all right now when you've lived your entire life, like with those spending habits and with those financial habits. And now you're, coming to terms with it. And I love that you can have both where you're giving them really the financial, like, this is what you need to do, but also in a gentle way where there's compassion and understanding and seeing it as a trauma because belief work is trauma work.
Yeah, 1,000%. And sometimes folks don't even know that, like, the urgency that they're creating to go do this, to go buy the home right now, is partially driven because they're hearing crazy things about the market. They're being driven by fear, which is one of the things that they want you to act on because people acting in fear are resolute. They make decisions. They'll make crazy decisions like buying overpriced homes.
Right. Or
So,
not buying at all, which is what we're seeing now.
so why don't we talk about that? What are you seeing in the marketplace right now?
Yeah, so it's exactly that, right? All the fear, I think all the uncertainty, I don't want to say misinformation. I would say it's misguided information because the general public needs to be informed of certain things, but then you as the individual really have to see how that lends to you. So the market right now, at least from Florida, I can speak for Palm Beach County in particular, everybody who's asked me, is the market going to crash? Are we going to see a wave of foreclosures? Like, people have been waiting for foreclosures since 2020. And literally this year, we've seen a drop in Florida, again, in particular, of almost 50% of like short sales, REOs, and foreclosure homes. So discounted homes, I don't want to say are a thing of the past, but they are not coming, I think, with the extent that people want for them to come. So we're seeing home affordability down. Also, demand is down. And we have sellers who understand that the value that their homes have incurred in the past year, thanks to cash buyers and thanks to appraisals coming in as strong as they've been coming through the pandemic, we're at a standstill. Buyers are not wanting to buy. Sellers are not really wanting to reduce their price, I think, to the drastic measures that maybe the media, and other people who want to get you scared are thinking or preparing you to happen. That's just not the case. I know the market report that came out just last month from the association here, Beaches MLS, showed that price reductions are at a 5 to 10% from last year. So we're not seeing a wide sweep of, yeah, $20,000 up. No, sellers understand that because of the strength of the value that the market has had, because of employment kind of rising, especially in Palm Beach County, with a lot of other industries, including some big financial hedge funds coming to West Palm, jobs are here. So there's job security. There are a lot of factors at play that when people think of prices going up, they equate it to 2008, but so much has changed, especially with, regulatory lending that have strengthened the value in homes. So what we're seeing now, and, for buyers who kept saying that they're going to wait it out, they're going to have to wait out a long time or jump now when you've got less competition, and more than likely your offer will be accepted because there aren't many on the table right now.
And you touched on probably both of the important intertwined levers that I think buyers are concerned about. At a very high level, I like to simplify things. You said house affordability, which is housing prices. And when you say it is not going down, like house affordability, they're still going up in price. Things are still way overpriced at inflationary prices, right? And just today, seeing the other lever, which is the interest rates, the borrowing rates for buyers, that just went up today with the federal funds rate. Now, that does not necessarily correlate to the banks that provide the loans. It is at the bank's discretion once the Fed ups the rate to up its rates. But usually what we've been seeing in the marketplace is shortly after a federal funds rate, we will see an uptick in the borrowing rates for loans for buyers. And so I know when I refinanced my home a few years ago, I am so happy I locked in my rate at like 2.6.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
that's unprecedented right
Yes,
now
it
because
is.
we're in a period of rising rates, and now it's getting like 5%, 6%, whatever we're going to. And what that does, the basics of economics, is when it gets more expensive to borrow, fewer people are going to borrow.
Right.
Which means fewer people are using the financing that's available to them to buy homes, which, as what you're seeing, is a slowdown in the marketplace of buyers. Correct. Because that financing is getting more expensive, and that's one of the key levers. One of the best times to buy is when the prices are low and the borrowing rates are low. We're in a period right now where both are high.
Correct. Yeah.
So what does that mean for your buyers?
Right. And that's a conversation I'm going to kind of spin back to you as well. And I love that you had mentioned that, because that's a question that we get a lot on the field. Oh, well, the federal, has just raised the interest, so that means my mortgage interests are going to raise as well. It's like, that also is dependent on, factors that you come to the table
Do
with.
you have a floating rate or a fixed rate mortgage currently? If you are in a floating rate mortgage, then there's a chance that your rates will go up. And that's what happened when you engaged in a variable rate mortgage, and you knew that, and disclosures were made to you when you first got your mortgage. So do you refinance to a fixed rate in a period of raising rates? Maybe we should have done that a while ago. Maybe there's still time. We don't know.
Yeah. Right. Well, and then going back to it too, just understanding that that's not direct, right? The lenders will raise if they see fit. If not, they won't. But going back to it with buyers, really having that snapshot of yourself, then you can like see, all right, well, if for somebody who has like a 700 or an 800 credit score, the interest rates are at 5.42, which I think was the last one. What does that mean for me at 7, at 6, at 5? So when you're working with anybody who's looking to get like a financial mindset, how do you explain credit scores? Because I know that that's like laced with trauma. How do you explain all the decisions that maybe they made as a college student and now are coming here to reap, kind of damage in the present day moment as they're looking to move forward and secure a mortgage?
And I think that's part of the initial homework up front. And it's certainly in my template is I ask what their most recent credit score was, because that is something that is important when you are trying to obtain financing, when you are trying to purchase a home. So if you have an all cash offer, then it doesn't matter because you don't need financing. Who the F needs a credit score anyway, right? Like we belong in forests barefoot with homemade wine and cheese. Like the hell is a credit score? So Okay, so a credit score, those
Yeah.
typically range from 300 to 850. And like Jen said, no many of us don't even know what credit scores are until we've already done damage to them.
Yeah.
Like you see those credit card companies sitting outside at tables on college campuses just waiting for college kids to come apply so you can damage your credit right out the gates.
Right.
And so if you feel like you need an advanced degree to understand a credit score, you're not alone. And I think the biggest thing, the biggest contributor to a credit score, just so that you guys know, there are 4 or 5. Jen, if you want me to go into all of them, I can.
Yeah,
Is
go
that
ahead. I think we have plenty
we'll
of
do a
time.
brief
Yeah, we have
touch on
definitely
all of
time. Yeah.
them. Great. So the most important ingredient in a credit score is going to be your payment history. So all they really care about is, are you making your monthly minimum payments on time? This is about showing up for yourself. This is about just writing a check at the bare minimum. So if you've missed payments, that's going to negatively affect your credit score. Okay. And so then there's also something, well, that accounts for about 35% of your FICO score. So you guys are getting your credit scores. FICO is usually when you go through, you can go through like Experian or some of those other ones. I'm sure Jen can give you resources of how to do a soft pull of your credit score, because that's also something, and I'm going to put a pin in that. We're going to come back to that. That matters. So the amounts you currently owe also matter. So banks will look at your whole portfolio of debt and what you've taken on. So your credit utilization ratio, if you have a lot of credit cards, big balances, but you're not using much of it, then they take a look at what your total credit outstanding is, which isn't a very big balance. And then they divide it by the sum of all your credit limits. And so then that utilization ratio, how much you're using or how little, that affects another 30% of your FICO score. So when we think about the top 2 contributors to your credit score, it's how much debt do you have outstanding and available to you right now that you're actually using? And are you paying it on time? Are you someone who is credit worthy? Okay, that's what a credit score is doing. It's assessing credit worthiness. The next is how long you've held the debt for. And so that accounts for about 15% of the FICO score. So now we're adding up, we're at what? 35 plus 30 plus 15 is 80% of your credit score. So those are the major contributors. How long you've held that debt for. The longer you've held that credit, the higher your credit score is. So if you have a long-standing relationship with your credit cards and you've used the same ones for years, that's going to be a positive contributor to your credit score. But if you just recently got a little stir crazy and opened up like 10 credit cards, that's going to negatively affect your credit score.
Yeah.
Make sense?
It does. And you know what? It's almost like a catch-22, because having credit is good if it's well maintained, but also you have to use it to show that you're using it well in order for your credibility and your loan worthiness to increase. So it really comes with a lot of caveats. And like I was a
You
college
can't just
student.
have a credit card that you don't
No.
use. That doesn't build your credit score. That
Right.
actually negatively affects your
Yeah.
credit score.
And closing them after you pay them off. Like there's so many little caveats that really can affect your credit score. But I think the ones that you had touched on, like those are the biggest ones really.
Yeah.
Like,
And then every time you have a hard pull on your credit score. So let's say you're a really anxious buyer, there's a sense of urgency. You want to go out and buy a house. Before you talk to Jen, your realtor, you go get your credit score so you can tell her what it is. And it is what it is. And you did a hard pull of it. Okay. We're just going to put that there. That's what she said. And so with that hard pull, that can have an immediate negative impact on your score, because it means somebody is looking at it because you're actually serious about getting a loan. So if you do that before you talk to your realtor and your realtor tells you actually maybe you're not really ready, or you find out because your mindset isn't there that you can't handle the ups and downs of the market, or you have some disempowering beliefs about being a homeowner, for example, let's just say it doesn't work out. You've just negatively impacted your credit score. And now you have to wait for that to bump back up. And all of this is because you get a higher credit score, you get a more favorable lending rate.
Right. Exactly. And I get that question a lot too, like when they're going through the pre-approval process, because always you have to do it in tandem, right? I can help walk you through what the process is going to be, but I am not a mortgage broker. I don't want to give you advice that might not actually benefit you. But the mortgage broker will let you know this is not a hard pull. This will be a soft pull. And if you can provide some sort of estimate of where your credit scores are for them to put it in, the little calculators. That's why my hands are up here. I'm typing it in the calculator. They have formulas that are already preset to give you an idea of what it is that you might be approved for before we really commit to it and say, yes, go ahead, do the things. I want to get the mortgage on this house. So that's
and that all plays into,
too.
do you need a loan for 80% of your value, or do you need a loan for 90% of your value? Are you looking at jumbo loans? Because that changes your rates. And so this allows you to set your budget to buy the house. So you don't get out into a market and think, wow, I've got $1 million budget. This is great. Look at all the stuff I'm going to get for it. And then it turns out nothing is at $1 million, and that's all you're approved for your loan.
Right.
Womp
That's why everything is in tandem. And I'll always bring the conversation back to anybody who wants to buy a home. Where are you financially? What is your comfort level? Have you looked at what closing costs might be? Can I give you an estimate? Can I show you some properties and give you like a price sheet of what it would look like? Can we work backwards? What is something that you're comfortable paying month to month? Are you including an HOA? Really questions that are so specific and unique to that buyer that one can never really just give blanket advice over the home buying process to everyone, because it's tailored to you at the end of the day, which is why it's very important. Always come back to your finances, and mortgage brokers will tell you, we'll look at how much money you make, how consistently you make it, and how, loan worthy can you be in this process that you're going through. So having that financial snapshot, and I know that you call it having money dates with yourself so that you can really see where you are, is really important as well. So if you're
bring your spouse on a money date, grab a glass of champagne and go take a look at all your finances and look at the bank accounts, look at the credit card statements. But also, as part of it too, I want people to assess, if you do get a mortgage, go online, go to the loan calculator. When you look at how much you're going to get for your loan, what's your monthly payment going to be? Because let's look at that in terms of your financial snapshot and your budget. Yep. Because if you think, yeah, I'm pre-approved for $1 million, that's great. And all of a sudden that's got a monthly payment that you and your spouse maybe can't afford, or it's more than 2/3 of your monthly income, well, then you're going to have a really tight budget and life is not going to be great. You're going to be, what is it? Penny poor, house rich. Yeah. What's that saying?
I don't know. This is where my I speak Spanish first comes in, because I don't always know the colloquialisms.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a great place. You don't want to be there, right? So you want to be comfortable paying the payments to live in your home and still do all the other things you want to do to buy groceries for your family, meet all your other safety and security needs. So absolutely, it's not worth going broke on a house that's way out of your price range because the market is telling you it's scarce, act on your scarcity mindset.
Right. Right. Or wait to see if it's going to get cheaper, when actually history has taught us it's not getting any cheaper. So when you feel that the market is right for you, that's because the market is right for you, and always putting yourself in that environment and not the environment inside of you, because you're going to be the homeowner at the time that is best suited for you to do. So I'm so happy that we were able to have this conversation. And there was something else that I wanted to say, but my ADHD just kicked in and I can't remember.
We go ride bikes.
Well, you want to ride bikes?
Let's go ride bikes.
No, it was something it's so insightful and profound, and it'll probably come back to me. So basically, I know that we kind of dumped a little bit of gloom and doom on you if you're in the process of discovering where your finances are. But I think that the one thing that, and maybe this was where I wanted to go with it, in this moment right now where we're looking at the market and we're seeing a lot of uncertainty and you're getting information from all over the place, and home buying is something still that you want to do. Diana, what are some tips that you can leave for them that they might feel a little bit disillusioned? They might not think that the market is in their favor. What are some things that you can, I guess, advise them to do so that they can see, based on their specific situation, it might still actually be a good time?
Yeah, I think it really depends. It depends on where people are with their financial snapshot, what their portfolio of debt looks like otherwise, what their monthly payments look like. But even backing up from that, I'd really love to talk about mindset. And I think there's a big factor in what I do in this world around, getting away from scarcity and acting in abundance. And what do I mean by abundance? It's not just being rich. It's not about having a lot of money. It's about an actual increased flow. And so it is richness and wealth and so much more than just money. And for me, that abundance stems from gratitude and really looking at what you already have. What assets do you have that you're not capitalizing on? I think a lot of folks, when I do go with them through their financial snapshot, there's a lot of things they haven't thought about that are actually assets to them. And the great thing about assets is that they can generate future cash flows. So if you took a development course, well, you can capitalize on the fact that you took that development course and start offering some courses. And then you have a revenue stream. You just got yourself passive income. Maybe it's active income, another revenue stream besides the one you have. And that brings in more money. And so, a lot of people don't realize not just the financial assets they have, but the non-financial assets they have working in their favor too.
I love that. And I think that being able to quantify that in a way that's a revenue stream or just a craft that they might have that can now, it's a passion project, and it's also something that's going to give them more money so that they can get closer to their home buying goals.
And I was specific. I used an example about self-development because your buyers, like each individual person, you are the asset. Buying a home is you investing in yourself. It's you investing in your family and memories and things for the future, a life that you want to have. This is an investment in you. And so when you look about it that way too, maybe it is the right time to be buying a home. And so all the other stuff doesn't really matter, because when you think about an aligned purchase and intentional spending, maybe owning a home for your family and making those memories is the most aligned thing you can do.
And it doesn't have to be your forever home either. I think that that's where people get hung up on having to buy that perfect dream home. And
say it again for the ones in the back.
Dream homes are years in the making, right? We moved to Florida 8 years ago. This house that we are so blessed to have was 8 years in the making. So I don't want for anybody to ever feel discouraged or feel that they can't just buy what they feel called to buy. And, especially with rents going up as well in Palm Beach County, mortgages, even with a high interest rate, might still potentially be cheaper than rent. So if you're looking to just get started to provide your family with that home, it doesn't have to be the cookie cutter perfect home with the fence. It could be in a great location. Maybe it needs some work. Maybe you can put that work in. And now there's more of an investment tied into that money asset that you just purchased as well. So I think all this to say, start with abundance, start with the assets, start with what you have, and really keep in mind the goal of where it is that you want to go, and that it might not necessarily look the way you want it to look, but it's just enough to get you inspired and to motivate you to continue achieving more and more in your life, if that's what you're called to do.
Yeah, the key word is just start. Take one small step, one aligned action towards that. And you'll find that the next step appears, and then the next one and the next one. I love what you were saying there. And there was something else I wanted to say there that I lost that train of thought. That ADHD.
See, it happens. What was I just saying? I forget too. What did I just say?
Want to go fly a kite?
Okay. We're going to go do that. We're going to go fly a kite, because clearly working throughout the day and all the heavy conversation, like our brains are like, we're going to have fun with this, guys. Forget all the insightful things that you're going to say and just have fun with it. All right. So I think on that note, we're going to wrap it up. Diana, again, thank you for being here, for providing the asset, the insight, the mindset married with the financials that I think people just really have separated for such a long time, but now seeing them together, like, it makes absolute sense why we need to continue doing, what we do, and for the gift that you provide to the world and being able to marry it in two beautiful, beautiful ways. So thank you for saying yes, and for being here, and for enjoying flying a kite with me later.
Thanks for having me. I can't wait. If anybody has any follow-up questions or wants to continue the conversation, I think Jen can share in some of the show notes how to find me.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure. I love talking finance. It makes my tail wag.
And real estate does that for me. So I will post all of Diana's links, courses, contact, any other resources that she feels called to share with us. We'll go ahead and share. But again, thank you for being here, and thank you, listener and viewer, for spending this time with us. And I hope that if you were watching this in the hopes to hear some abysmal news, it actually turned out a lot better than I expected myself. So happy you were on this ride with us too. All right, take care, guys.